best in-season acquisition, or as Mando he gave us this idea here, best chess move of the NHL year, and pretty self-explanatory. We are rewarding this to the most effective in-season move, trade, free agent signing, or coaching hire that has led to measurable team improvement this year. Mando, why don't you kick us off, buddy? What do you got?
I can. So I think when you think about this award off the bat, you think like trades or free agent signings halfway through the season or something like that. The way that I look at this award, and we just mentioned them, the St. Louis Blues brought in a guy who, when you look at the team's perspective and change from where he was to where he is now, it's literal opposites. And I don't take that word liberally. Boston Bruins have lost 10 in a row, and the St. Louis Blues have won 11 in a row. So it could not be more opposite on this sense. So it's the hiring of Jim Montgomery in St. Louis for me. November 24th, 2024, they brought him in. Blues were 9-12-1. They were sitting 5 points out of a wild card spot. And now they have won an 11 in a row. They have, 89 points, and they're sitting, I think 6 or 7 points. I probably should have had the specifics in front of me. I do have the standings, but on the wrong date for some reason. I think I'm looking. You got it covered?
I've got you here. So I'll give you this. Since November 25th, so day after he's hired here.
Yes.
Till today. St. Louis Blues are 33-16-6, 72 points. That places them fifth since the hiring. So
which is
the
crazy.
funny part too is you got Washington in first with 80 points. Teams 2, 3, 4 are also in the Central with the Blues. It's Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg.
And
so St. Louis, fifth best team in the NHL since Jim Marc-Andre came in. Only the fourth best team in their division.
It's unbelievable.
That's crazy. Yeah,
that's a great stat. They've been unbelievable. And I just want to highlight a couple more things. Like in going along with that stat of fifth best since his hiring, they're 17-2-2 since the Four Nations break. Like, that's 4 games that they've lost in 21. That's such an unfathomable thought. When they break it down for overtime loss, the way they do in the NHL, I think some of this stuff gets broken down a little. Like, you don't think about some of the fact that they've lost 4 games out of 21. I think that's such a crazy stat. It's difficult to there's so many good moves, but I just think that, especially seeing St. Louis, I've seen some of the interviews of players. They look like they're just such a fun and loose dressing room, which I think is so important around this time of year where things get a little bit stale if you're a team that's already made the playoffs, or, you're just kind of refining certain things. Teams aren't even practicing because they're saving the energy for the games. They're loose. They're having fun. And I do want to shout out Jobu. I hope you guys have heard about this story, but if not, I'm going to enlighten you real quickly.
Yep.
Yeah, so Jobu is a figurine from the movie Major League, and in the movie, the character Pedro Serrano used it to summon his bat to hit because he wasn't hitting curveballs. So it's this insane. I don't even really want to describe it, but it's this old bobblehead basically that he placed in his stall with a cigarette in it. And in the movie, he's feeding it rum, and it's like a seance almost, right? Now, the St. Louis Blues have this bobblehead in their dressing room, and it has its own stall. I saw an image. It says Jobu with the St. Louis Blues logo next to it. Jake Neighbors did a hit on Amazon's Coast to Coast this past Thursday. Andy Petrillo, Keith Yandel, and Paul Bissonnette were basically on there, and they were asking him, and Biz was like, hey, what's this Jobu situation? Who brought him into the locker room? And Neighbors was like, I can't reveal that information. That's staying undercover.
Classified.
So, classified. And Yandel starts clapping.
Could it be somebody named Mim Montgomery?
Yeah, it very well could have. And if it is, that enforces my point even more. But I just think the fact that they have this glorious style run in them, it's almost identical to 2019. And I hate saying that because we have Craig Berube in Toronto, and that should be the formula to win. But it just seems like St. Louis is in such a great spot now. And when you look at the dynamic of Jim Montgomery being brought in, as to where St. Louis was beforehand and where Boston is now, when in his first season with Boston, we know what they did, 65 win season in his first year as head coach. And now the Bruins might as well be an AHL team. So it's just such an insane transition. And I think hiring Montgomery was that big move this year that probably should push them over the edge.
Cannot go wrong there.
Would you mind if I jump in front of you, Christian?
Here we go.
Go for it.
Okay,
Go, bud.
because I did also have Jim Montgomery.
Nice.
The Jim Montgomery hiring as my one. And I don't know if we want to count this, but I also have Doug Armstrong offer sheeting both for the Oilers duo there. That kind of sparked the beginning of their season. Those two, for the first month, were it's seemingly like the only two players that were able to score on the Blues. But I also had that as my honorable mention because I wasn't sure if we wanted to go back to because this is best in season chess move. That's technically not in season, but it was like slowly getting to the beginning of the season where everything's ramping up with the offer sheet. So I was like, but just in general, I have the St. Louis Blues were playing chess while the Bruins were playing checkers, right? Just a little game there. And the Oilers were playing with sticks and stones by letting go of both Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. So
Good move.
Yeah.
Shout out to St. Louis, man. They've been making moves. 5D chess.
I may or may not have a guy whose name rhymes with Mim, John Montgomery, as my pick as well. So, how about we just go ahead and entertain who would be number 2 here, okay? Because I think you guys have laid out all of the points very well. So, Jim Montgomery, congrats. You are getting the in-season acquisition award here. I'll tell you who I had at number 2, and I very much considered. It's one of Mando's guys from San Jose heading to Colorado, Mackenzie Blackwood.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a trade that really changed the Colorado Avalanche's fortunes just as much as the Mikko Rantanen and Martin Necas stuff, right? Like you talk about who they had in that before, Alex Georgiev, who you can go all the way back to last year, and in the playoffs there, I don't know if we've ever seen a more horrid performance like we were talking about putting in like Eustace Annunen, even like just for what? Just to try something different is basically what it was. And that kind of spilled into this year. And Mackenzie Blackwood basically, I have the stat here, since becoming a Colorado Avalanche, he has a .918 save percentage. I think Hellebuyck leads the league at a .924, .926. So he's put them from one of the worst goaltenders in the league to being one of the best. He got awarded with a contract. I think he's someone who we just wouldn't have expected this out of if you look back maybe a year ago. And it's just a move that Colorado was really willing to pull off early in the season. It was like December-ish.
Might have been even before that.
I think it was early December, but yeah, maybe it was before. But that just goes to show you, like, they're aggressive. Like, that's what the Rantanen trade was, and the Blackwood trade was aggressive. And even when everyone's maybe like, maybe you're overacting here, or maybe this isn't the best, they dive right in, and it couldn't have gone better for them.
Yeah, that's a great one. Shout out Jim. Shout out Mackenzie.
Shout out Jim Montgomery.
Jim Montgomery is the guy, man. Yeah.
Well, Blackwood's a good second. I did give that one a thought, but yeah, I think it's just clear based on what we're seeing now. So good pull here, boys. Good. I think that's our first collective answer, number 1, right? Unanimous.
That's a unanimous vote there.
Yeah. Good for us.